Picture, if you will, a typical high school hallway. But focus now on one locker, number 13. Inside waits not textbooks or gym clothes, but doorways to other worlds, other realities, and something else, something lurking.
You ever feel like you're not quite yourself, like you've stepped into someone else's life? I used to think that was just anxiety or stress. Now I know better, much better. This is the story of Becky Thompson, junior at Oakwood High, art club president, decent student, completely ordinary teenager. At least, that's who I was 2 months ago. These days, I'm not sure of anything anymore. It started on the first day of freshman year. I was standing in line at the counselor's office, clutching my schedule and trying not to seem as nervous as I felt. The air smelled like floor wax and new textbooks, normal first-day stuff. When it was my turn, Mrs. Grayson, our school counselor, started the usual welcome speech. But when she reached for my locker assignment, something changed. Her hands trembled. Her smile froze. For just a second, her eyes went wide with recognition? Fear? "Locker number 13, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Be careful, Becky. Please." I laughed it off then. Figured she was just being weird. Maybe she'd had too much coffee that morning. Besides, I had bigger things to worry about, like finding my best friend Jenny before first period. The first time I opened that locker, everything seemed normal. Metal shelves, mirror on the door, few dents here and there, standard issue. But as I was arranging my books, the world shifted. Just for a moment, like reality hiccuped. In the mirror, I caught a glimpse of myself. Except it wasn't quite me. This reflection had darker eyes, harder features. A small scar above her right eyebrow that I'd never had. She smiled at me, a sharp, knowing smile. And then everything snapped back to normal. I blamed it on first-day jitters, stress playing tricks on my mind, but deep down I knew something had changed. Something fundamental. Over the next few weeks, reality started slipping. Small things at first. I'd reach for my favorite purple pen and pull out a blue one I'd never seen before. The posters in the hallway advertised events that hadn't existed yesterday. My history textbook covered wars I'd never heard of. Then came the day Jenny showed up with a sleeve of tattoos. Beautiful, intricate designs that must have taken months to complete. When I stared, she got worried. "Beck, you literally helped me design these," she said, concern in her voice. "We spent all summer sketching them out, remember? My mom was so mad she wouldn't speak to me for a week." But I didn't remember, because it hadn't happened, not in my world. That's when I started keeping track. A journal of changes, differences, shifts in reality. Some days my mom was a high-powered lawyer who barely looked up from her phone. Others, she was a high school art teacher who always had paint under her fingernails. Both felt real. Both had memories, photos, histories. And the locker, it was always there, waiting. Sometimes when I opened it, the shift was subtle. Different colored walls, slightly altered class schedules. But sometimes, I'll never forget the day I opened it and found myself in an Oakwood High where everything was wrong. The hallways were too long, stretching impossibly into darkness. Students moved like marionettes, heads tilted at unnatural angles. The air tasted like copper and static. I slammed the locker shut so hard it echoed through the hall, back in my normal world. But was it really mine anymore? How could I be sure? I tried avoiding the locker after that. Carried all my books in my backpack until my shoulders ached. But the shifts happened anyway. Every reflective surface became a potential doorway. Windows, mirrors, even the blank screen of my phone. All of them showing me glimpses of other lives, other Beckys. I saw versions of myself I never wanted to know existed. Becky the star athlete, crushing records and dreams alike. Becky the recluse, haunting the library stacks like a ghost. Becky with perfect grades and empty eyes. Each one felt real. Each one had memories that tried to overlay my own. But worse than the other Beckys was what I started seeing behind them. Something watching. Something moving between the worlds like a shark through dark water. I'd catch glimpses and reflections. A shape that hurt to look at. All angles and emptiness. It was hunting me, using me to navigate between realities, and it was getting closer. Jenny noticed something was wrong. The real Jenny, My Jenny, with her blonde hair and worried eyes. She started walking me to classes, sitting with me at lunch, trying to keep me grounded. "You've been different lately," she said one day, "like you're not all here anymore." If she only knew how right she was. It all came to a head on Halloween. The barrier between worlds is supposed to be thinnest then, right? I was helping Jenny set up for the school dance, hanging decorations in the gym. When I went to get more streamers from my locker, I heard it. Soft crying coming from down the hall. I knew that voice, it was mine. The hallway seemed longer than usual, darker. Each step echoed too loudly. The crying got louder as I approached locker number 13. Something inside me screamed to run, but I couldn't. I had to know. I opened the locker. Reality fractured. I saw everything at once. Every Becky, every world, every possibility. The knowledge burned through my mind like lightning. And there, in the chaos, I finally saw it clearly. The thing that had been hunting me. A dark, horrifying presence squirming between worlds, using the locker, using me as its gateway. In that moment of insane horror, I understood. I wasn't its victim. I was its door. Time meant nothing in that void of possibilities. But somewhere in the chaos, I found myself. The real me. Not the athlete or the recluse or any other version. Just Becky Thompson, who loved art and her best friend, and wasn't ready to let some interdimensional horror use her as a doorway. I forced the locker shut. Reality stabilized. I was back, the real me in my real world. I made sure of it this time. That night, I sealed the locker. Super glue in the lock, chains around the handle, warning signs everywhere. Let them think it was a Halloween prank. Anything to keep people away. I went to the office and told them that my locker number 13 had been vandalized and glued shut. I asked if I could get a different locker. For 2 months, everything was normal. The shifts stopped. The thing in the mirrors retreated. I started to feel like myself again. Then yesterday, I saw the janitor outside locker number 13. The chains were gone. The lock had been replaced. He was whistling as he wiped away the last traces of glue. And walking down the hall, schedule in hand, was Sarah Miller, the new girl, looking for her locker assignment. I tried to warn her, I really did, but she opened the locker, and as I opened my mouth to shout, my vision swam. The hallway tilted sideways, and I felt my legs give way. The cold linoleum pressed against my cheek as darkness crept in from the edges. When I woke up, something was wrong. Terribly wrong. The hallway looked the same, but reversed. And there was Sarah, standing exactly where I had been moments ago, staring into locker number 13's mirror, staring at me. I pressed my hands against the glass, my mouth open in a silent scream. Sarah's eyes went wide with horror as she saw my reflection move independently of anyone in the hall. She stumbled backward, dropping her books. And that's when I realized the truth. I wasn't looking through the mirror anymore. I was trapped behind it.
Consider, if you will, the peculiar case of Becky Thompson, who tried to save another from her fate, only to find herself on the wrong side of reality. A cautionary tale about reflections and how the simple act of looking into a mirror might show you more than your own face. For in this school, in this particular locker, every reflection is a window, and every window a prison. A lesson in perspective, brought to you by Bedtime Shadows. When you check your reflection, ask yourself, are you looking at the mirror, or is the mirror looking at you? Subscribe to Bedtime Shadows so you don't miss next week's enchanting chapter. The new girl in school, the one who wants your company. We hope you enjoyed this chapter. If you want to support us, see the options below. You can buy me a coffee or become a Patreon supporter. If you join the channel and become a member, you'll get access to unreleased videos, as do Patreon members.